Hey, hey, let's
Hey,
let that
hey.
music play.
Oh my goodness!
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 147 of Restitching the Tapestry. We are inching closer to 150. Hard to believe. It's going to be our leap year episode since it's on leap day. Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness!
That's going to be kind of wild, isn't it? So, how have you been and what have you been up to?
I told you about I was talking about my adventure in the back room. So I went to, because I'm kind of broke right now because of stuff. But anyway, so I was like, I'm going to go to the art museum because it's free day at the art museum. So I went to the art museum today and I was just looking around the art, feeling very intimidated by how beautiful and amazing it was. And I was like, oh, I should start painting again. But anyway, so a volunteer came up to me and she was like, does anything strike your fancy? And I was like, many things do. Many things do. I should probably start painting again. And she was like, oh, you're a painter? I said, yes, I'm a painter and a writer. I'm a poet. And she said, oh, you should participate in our poetry writing contest. And that led down a whole rabbit hole today. Oh
And
my
then,
God.
no, you need to tell the rest of it because it sounds so bougie and so delightful.
Oh, so then she goes, oh, we have this poetry contest here at the art museum. We're doing an ekphrastic poetry contest, which ekphrastic poetry, if you don't know, is when you look at a piece of art and then you write a poem based on that piece of art. So I was like, oh, well, I have my notepad here. Sure, I'll write a piece of poetry and I'll do it based on the art. And she was like, fantastic, let me get you a stool. So she takes me into the main gallery where all of this art is. She shows me all of the pieces, and I go, I like this one, which is called La Fenêtre, or called The Window, and it's by Frances Gillot. And she is basically like associated with Picasso, so it's a little bit of a cubist painting. It's very interesting. And I was like, okay, cool. So I sit down and I'm just writing this piece of poetry, and she goes, you have to read this poetry to me when you're done, because I can't make heads or tails of this painting. I have no idea what it's about. I just don't understand this piece. It's so beautiful, but I don't know what to see out of it. So you have to read this poem to me when you're done. So it take 10, 15 minutes, and I'm just composing a piece of poetry, ekphrastic poetry. I just compose this scene, and I call it I Sit at the Window, is what the poem is called. And so
I
it
like
is a
that
poem in
title.
5 parts. So I get done, and she's meeting with some other people, but I come up to her and I go, so I'm done. Do you want to see it? And she's like, we have to go back to the painting so I can look at it so you can read it to me. And I said, sure. So I read the poem to her, and she goes, oh my God, you saw all of that with this painting? And I said, yes. She says, I see all of what you're saying. It's so beautiful. She says, you have to read it to my coworker. I said, sure. She pulls her coworker over, and I read it to them. And her coworker goes, you have such a voice for poetry. You speak poetry. Like, you have such a wonderful speaking voice. And I love it.
You do.
She says, I think that you have the most amazing voice. She said, I hope that you enter the contest. So I said, sure. So I went to the beach and I wrote some more poetry, because I write 6 poems a day, always. Because I mark it off on my hand, little tick marks. And so I got home and I was like, I'm going to enter that right now. So I pulled a little paper that they gave me out of my bag, and I looked up the rules of everything I had to do. So I tippy tapped on my computer and typed everything up. And I went on the website and I entered into it. And so now I'm entered into their thing. I hope I win, because it's $200 for the first prize.
That's exciting. I'm glad that they were like really gung-ho about everything too. So, comments. Arpy's here. Hello, Arpy. Godzilla
Oh,
Kairu is here, and so is Lacey. Hello, my
hi,
dear. We're going to be talking about dating horror stories tonight. Lacey's been through many of mine.
Lacey.
Lacey's been the first spectator of many of mine.
I am
So,
so excited.
I know, me too. So this week for me, Ari, I had an existential crisis this week. So
Yeah.
2 days ago, I was grooming myself, my
Mhm.
facial region, and I looked closely because I was like, something seems off. Something doesn't look right. I found gray hair in my beard. Three little itty bitties, just right there, just little
Donny, we're getting
itties.
old.
I left them in because I was just like, ooh,
Ooh.
ooh. Like, am
Ooh.
I wise and distinguished? I don't
Do you see
know.
this? Do you see this? This is a patch of gray.
Those are your wisdom highlights, Ari. We're in our mid-30s, mid to late 30s.
I love being old. Do you know what being old is? That people finally respect you.
I mean, do they respect us though?
Yes, they do. They finally see you as an authority figure, that people will finally give you like a little bit of credence, and they treat you like an act. Like, do you know what it's like to actually be treated like an adult and not like
No.
when you actually have like like wrinkles and like gray hair, people are like, they don't treat you like you're some like idiot millennial child that's like ruined everything, and like, like, oh, you
Right.
avocado eating, coffee
You
drinking.
avocado eating, yoga doing.
They finally treat you like that you have some kind of like respect and authority, and that you pay bills and like do things. So like, give me the gray hairs, please. Give me some gray hairs, because I actually look at least a semblance of my age, because I'm so tired. I'm so
I
tired of
personally
boomers
think,
just not respecting me as a human being.
well, yeah, I mean, forever I feel that way.
Yeah.
I think that we just look like, I feel like we look youthful still though. We look like we're fine wine, damn it. Lacey says it's so scary. Are you talking about my former not hot mess of a dating life? Is that the thing that was so scary? What was scary? Uh, RP says I don't have any. Lacey says watching and waiting for Tiffany to come over. Friend Tiffany. Oh my goodness. Beyond that, I've just been working and not anything else exciting going on. So, um, a lot of current events. We're finally catching up on some current events because the last few episodes we've been like, let's ignore current events. Is anything happening? I don't know what's happening. Oh, Lacey says mermaid tail is scary. Oh yes, absolutely.
King, King Charles has cancer.
Yes, King Charles has cancer. I just saw a
Is
TikTok
it
where he was
is
being
it wrong?
airlifted.
Is it wrong of me to say that I want Daddy William to be the king?
Zaddy William. What's William's brother's name?
Um,
Why am I
uh,
blanking?
I'm blanking. It's William and Is it Edward?
I
Prince
think
Prince
so.
Edward, Prince William.
Prince William, Prince Edward.
Is it Edward?
No. Why can I not think of it? Prince Harry.
Oh, Harry.
Ari. Ari.
I'm so sorry.
Prince William. Prince William. Prince William's not the zaddy.
Okay.
Prince Harry is the zaddy.
Prince William is pretty good looking though. Catherine and William, they are pretty good looking.
I mean, they do look very refined, I suppose.
Harry is
Lacey's
hotter
like,
than
Harry is hotter than.
that's very true.
Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, so he got airlifted. I don't know what's happening. I mean, obviously any person who is battling this, I hope that they're okay, but that's kind of scary. There's been
My mom told me that he went in for like his prostate, so his little dingling, and that she thinks that it's prostate cancer. I don't talk about those things, but
Ari.
apparently he's having trouble peeing or
Oh,
something. I don't know.
I'm trying not to cry right now. Ooh, ooh.
I don't know. I'm American. I don't know these things. You know, this
So
apparently this is actually a curse. They've talked about this that royal men do not last as long as royal women. That like kings do not last as long as British queens. And that was the thing that I
Oh.
knew that this was coming. That like that.
Well, didn't we see like an image of him like some months ago and he just did not look well? Like,
Well, the thing about it is that her father, Elizabeth's father, did not last as long as Elizabeth did, and it's something about royal men just do not have it in them to rule as long as British women. The British women are like formidable and like sustainable, but there's something about British men that just like do not have the staying power to stay in authority. They just collapse under rule
right.
because they just cannot handle the stress of it.
Well, yeah. Well, beyond that happening, there's been a lot of planetary stuff going on.
Yeah.
A lot of flooding in California.
Yeah.
I was watching some of the footage. There's there's a lake that had evaporated or like disappeared that is now back again.
Yeah.
Let's see. Has been a third eruption in Iceland in the past 3 months near that
I
little
only mention
town.
this because you were really excited about this volcano that's in Iceland, and like I saw it on the news, and I was like, I know Donnie's like super excited about this, that like
Oh
super
yeah.
concerned about this volcano in Iceland.
Do you want to know how bad it is? I have like 3 geologist YouTube channels that I follow. So like whenever something like this happens, like they will like do like a remote drone thing and I will like watch them like survey.
You were super concerned about this volcano in Iceland, and I'm all for it.
I just like, well, like, what will happen to the town? What will happen to the power plant that supplies a chunk of Iceland, their hot water, right? Because geothermal energy and everything. But
I'm all for this. I love this. I love this saga. I love this saga of finding out what's going to happen to those people in Iceland.
right. I mean, I hope they're okay. Like it's kind of I feel bad for those people, but so do you want to talk about like some negative climate change news?
Oh yeah. Apparently we're a year into being above the 1.5 marker.
Yeah.
And that's why we're getting all this like extreme weather. Apparently we were in a La Nino, but like that's why like it's so super like warm for like February right now is because we're like
Yeah, today in Michigan, at least where I was, it was 60 degrees. I
yeah,
don't
it was
think
like
I've
super
ever
warm. I took the jacket off. I was like, why does it feel like May?
Now, don't get me wrong, like it was beautiful out today, but I have never seen it be 60 degrees in early February in my entire life.
I've seen it do it before, like in the early 2000s, but like it was so weird for it to be like 70 degrees. It'd be like one day where it'd be like really hot, and I was like, this is like weird for it to be like unseasonably warm. But then it would be like really cold again the next day, and
Mhm.
it's not cooling off at all.
No. So, like that's been kind of concerning. Um, so I guess I don't know, like it just brings into light like just we need to be prioritizing the environment and I just feel like I feel like people talk about it but we just don't do enough.
And it's not just individual people that need to be doing stuff. It's like corporations are just like ignoring everything. And like it's corporations that are not
Mhm.
doing what they're supposed to be doing. And like they think that they can just get away with like not participating.
What was that? Was that Larity?
Yes, he's attacking my green screen. Um so he's trying, they think they can get away with not participating in climate change efforts, like to help, work with the environment. And the thing about it is that we're going to start seeing the devastating effects, I think, this year, especially.
Yeah.
I think the summer is going to be really bad.
I think we're gonna get like a lot of really like severe thunderstorms and stuff like that. Places probably with like tornadoes and stuff too.
Well,
So
just like the heat is just going to be super bad.
yeah. Well, do we want to do our mission statement? It's your turn today.
No, it's your turn. It's your turn. I put in there wrong. It's your turn because I did it last
okay.
night.
It's my turn then. We live in a dynamic society where social media shapes us by creating greater opportunities for connection. It has led to a developing understanding of the adversity many marginalized communities face, the powers causing the adversity, and those who act as bystanders as atrocities take place in real time. Our goal with this show is to have challenging conversations about social topics, current events, pop culture, and art. Together, we weave the threads of understanding with what privilege we have in order to learn, educate, and create in a world that's growing, and to have a little fun while doing it.
Yeah.
So, oh my goodness. Well, it's February, and we know what holiday dominates February, right?
Valentine's Day. Oh, so you know what's exciting is Amelie's coming back to the movie theater on Valentine's Day.
Oh.
Ooh.
Oh.
Ooh.
Are you gonna go see it?
Yes. I'm gonna dress up in my cutest little French girl outfit and go to see Amelie at the movie theater on Valentine's Day. Take myself out for a date.
I need you, when you go to the theater, to literally talk to the staff in French.
Mais oui, ça c'est possible.
Oh, I love listening to you speak French. Yeah, P.S. everybody, I don't know if you knew this, but Ari is fluent in French.
Oui, je suis fluente en français et j'adore parler français. Ça c'est la langue de l'amour.
I understood like 80% of that.
Parfait.
I took one semester of French in college, and it was the most stressful class I've ever taken because I did not read the fine print when it said, you need to have at least 4 semesters of high school French before you take this class.
Oh, la la.
So like I get in there and like the teacher is just like, she teaches the class in French. I didn't know that was a thing. So I'm like in panic mode. I'm like, I knew like bonjour and like au revoir. Like that's about it. But I quickly
la bibliothèque, la baguette.
No, like so I ended up learning on the fly, and I did manage to pass the class, and I can, to this day, I can read French better than I can understand it. It's very strange, but let's talk about dating horror stories and celebration of Valentine's Day.
We have such good questions for this.
Last year we talked about V-cards.
So many bad dates. So many years.
Last year we talked about V-cards. This year we're talking about dating horror stories. So, what was a date with your last or current partner that you had? Although your partner wasn't the problem, was the date just bad?
So I'll go first. So I used to go to Vegas all the time with my ex-boyfriend Tim, and the reason why I don't drink now is because I used to get drunk a lot, and we had some shenanigans in Vegas. I have like holes in my memory about things that would happen because we would just kind of like wander around Vegas, just horribly trashed, and it was so dangerous. It was so dangerous because you could get into so much trouble just walking around shit faced to say the least. So I don't know how we got there. But here we are in this bar, in this seedy bar on the edge of the Strip, and it's this like country bar. This is how I remember it. I don't know how accurate it is, and this is why the date was bad. because he and I were just like having drinks or whatever at this bar. And I go to use the bathroom and I come back and there's this guy in a wheelchair who rides past me, reaches up and grabs my boob. And I was so shocked. I have no idea whether or not it actually happened or not, but Tim was right next to me. And I go, Tim. I go, Tim. I said, did you see that? And he was like, what? And I said, Tim, the dude just grabbed me. And he said, what? He was drunk. He didn't know what was going on. So he got out of the bar. I said, Tim, you gotta defend me. This dude just grabbed me. So we're just like standing on a street corner arguing about this dude who just like grabbed and like boob. And so there's like a hotel across the way, and there's like a dude that's like getting his car or whatever. And he points to the guy and he goes, what did you do? I said, Tim, what's wrong with you?
Oh no.
You're being crazy right now. And so the dude doesn't even hear him because he's like so far away from him. I said, Tim, we gotta go. I said, you're being crazy.
We gotta go.
I was meditating, thinking about what I was going to talk about tonight, and that memory came up, and I was like, I don't know how accurate all of that was, but it was so bad and it was so funny, but it's so awful to think about at the same time.
Oh my god. So do you want to okay, so I've had so many bad dates, but I don't what I'm about to share isn't necessarily a date. It's a proposal. Not my current one.
Yeah.
So 2013 was a year. It was a year. I was a very different person in 2013. Lacey knows what's coming. I was a very different person in 2013 because I got in a relationship with someone who loved to party a lot and kind of used that as like, because I was like a very reserved, very kind of like sheltered person. Like he would kind of like expect me to like have the level of fun that he had. So he would like want me to drink and smoke and all that jazz. And if I didn't, he was like, I won't be with you, whatever. So I did. So like I kind of was just completely out of control in 2013. And well, he lived in the basement of this house that wasn't a finished basement by any stretch of the imagination. And one night I'm just sitting down there, like I'm sitting on a mattress on the floor, watching his TV, eating spaghetti. He comes in, kneels on the floor in front of me while I'm like slurping spaghetti.
Oh no.
Takes the giant gaudy ring off his finger and asks me to marry him.
Oh no.
So I'm like,
did he get it out of a gumball machine?
Ari, he got out of the dumpster. I don't know. I sat there like slurping my noodles, like just dumbfounded. I was like, but of course, in my brain back then, I was like, this is the most romantic thing that ever happened to me. Oh my God. He was Juliet on the balcony calling out to me. Like it was.
And knowing like how you've proposed to your current fiance, like the difference is just startling.
So I can say that I was proposed to over a bowl of spaghetti in a basement while watching, I think it was Powerpuff Girls. I'm fairly sure that's what it was.
That's crazy. That's crazy to me.
Lacey. Oh my goodness. No, like it was like I don't know, like, I think back on, like, prior dates and relationships, and I'm just like, why did I put myself through that?
Yeah.
Why did I go through those things, you know? And I honestly have kind of lost, like, I had lost count years ago of the terrible dates. Lacey's like,
They kind of just like form like a weird, don't they
Lacey
form like
wants
a
spaghetti
weird
now.
ball in your mind?
Yes.
I want
Oh,
steady too.
I know. I always want spaghetti. Lacey would
Careful,
have.
careful, if you eat sketty, you might get proposed to.
Is it because of the spaghetti lace, or because you could give us a soliloquy on like some of your dating nightmares too? Maybe we should do a part 2 and invite you on. But like, okay, so if we're talking date, okay, so let's talk the worst date I've ever been on. Honestly, like with Britt, I've had very good dates. We've never had a bad date, which is probably why we are where we are, right? Um, I I remember when I was at CMU, when I was going to college, I went on like an array of terrible dates. The first date that I went on was this very introverted dude from OkCupid, and he had like very like scraggly hair and glass. I remember he looked like he looked like Einstein. He looked like Einstein to me.
Oh my god.
So we went to that Chinese place that was right next to the towers. I can't remember what it was called, like something Dragon Express or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
And I probably took 5 years off my lifespan with how often I ate there.
I love their noodles, their vegetable noodles. I
Oh my
love
God, it was so
they're
good.
so bad.
Why are we talking so much about food? So like we're on this date, and like mind you, like in our chats we had talked a lot. Like we got to this date and he was quiet 90%. Like I talked 90% of the time, and he spent the entire time organizing the table. I couldn't tell if
Oh,
it
that's
was
so creepy.
and I was just like, I was like, what did I say? I was like, well, um, I gotta go to bed because I have to get up early for work. That was my, I was like, I gotta go. Bye.
Do you know what that reminds me of? So
Wow.
when I worked in Seattle, like the last month that I was there, um, before my manic episode, I was working at this French bakery, and there was this homeless guy who came in, and he obviously had like problems, but so he came in and he went over to like the coffee station where you like get all of the accoutrements for your coffee, like salt, like sugar and salt and cream and stuff,
People
like
put
all the
salt in their
accoutrements.
coffee.
But it's so like because you could get like bread, and like you could put like all this stuff that you would put like on.
Oh.
So it was just like a station for like all of the, it had like jams and stuff over there too. So it was like a station with like all of this stuff. So he was like pulling out like coffee stirrers and like cream and like, and he was like organizing it like that. So when you mentioned this like Einstein looking guy that was just sort of like organizing stuff, I just imagine this like homeless dude who's like out of his mind and like not quite there, just like standing in front of the coffee station, just like organizing things just like
Hey,
randomly
like
because he's not like in reality.
I like, you know, I don't know, like that's kind of how it felt. I'm not gonna lie. Ooh. So I had a stalker once. Did I tell you about the stalker that I had? Oh my God. So our next question is, what was a date that was just bad, like super duper bad in general? Well,
Oh my god, it's my turn to tell a story.
oh, you
Let
go
me tell
first
you.
then. You
Let
go
me tell
first
you.
then.
Let me tell you a story. I've told you this story before. This was in the last couple of years. So I tried to do Tinder, and the thing about it is I was trying to get to know people and like have like a relationship with people because I was not interested in having relations with people
Right.
recently. Like I was trying to like have reasonable, like,
Connections and
meetings with
stuff.
people. So I meet with this, I get a hold of this guy, and he's like, oh, hey, we're having a bonfire tonight, and we're gonna, have a couple drinks and stuff. You want to come and hang out? And I said, like, I wasn't thinking about like doing a whole bunch of drinking, but like a bonfire sounded nice, and like hanging out with people, that sounded fun.
Yeah.
And I said, like, that sounds cool. Like, I can hang out and do a bonfire. So I go to drive out to hang out with these people, and it's out in the middle of nowhere. Like, I literally have to drive like 45 minutes to get to these people out in because like I'm in, Muskegon. They're out like in the middle of Fruitport, almost towards like Grand Haven, like out it's really far away. So it's out in this, and it's out in, because I live kind of in like the suburbs, like city area. They're out in the countryside, out in this like mobile home trailer park area. It's like they're out in this, and it's not even at his house. It's at his boss's house. So it's not even at his place, right? So it's so weird. This is how it starts. So I'm just like, oh God, this, like, I didn't even know this all this. He just gave me the address. So I was just like, whatever. So I get there, and his friends are there, and they're all drunk. And so I like bring alcohol, because I'm like, bring your own booze or whatever. So I bring some booze, and I'm like, hey, I brought some alcohol for you guys, like whatever, if you want to have some, drinks, like I brought some stuff for you, like whatever. And they're like, and so they get some cups, and they're starting to drink from it. And they're like, this girl who's his friend comes up to me, and she pushes on my chest like this, and she goes, you know why you're here. And I said, excuse me? She says, you know why you've shown up tonight. You know what you're going to do tonight. And I said, do I? And is that what's going to happen tonight? And she says, you know you're going to hook up with him tonight, so you should just go and do it. And I said, oh, really? And I said, well, maybe. So the guy says, and he's been drinking too, and he was like, how about we go back to my place? Like, and I'm like, sure, yeah, okay. I mean, I guess so. And I'm like, well, I don't really feel like hooking up with this guy. But I'm like, well, it's been a while. Maybe I should. It would be good to like do some, I'm like not really convinced, but I'm like, maybe I should. Maybe it'd be good for me. But like everything in me is telling me like this isn't a good idea. Like maybe this isn't a good idea. But like everybody's kind of like pulling me into it, kind of. And so
like
I'm
egging you on.
Right. And so I'm like, well, maybe I will. Maybe I will. So this guy gets in his truck, and he starts like doing like crazy driving all around me on the highway to get back to this guy's house. So like he's like speeding up, he's like getting behind me, pulling his truck up behind me and revving his engine as I'm just driving along at a steady pace, like scaring the crap out of me. He like will pull up in front of me and like brake really quick, and then he'll like pull up again behind me, and like he's doing all kinds of crazy stuff like that. And I'm like, what the heck is this dude doing? He's like scaring the crap out of me. Like, does he think this is romantic? Because this is scaring me. Like, this guy's legitimately scary. Like, this is like what you see in a horror movie. You know what I mean? Like he's doing like weird donuts around me and stuff, and doing all sorts of stuff. So we finally get to the last stop sign before we get to his house. And what does he do? He pulls up right behind me, and he starts burning rubber on his tires. Like he's just spinning his tires, and they're burning rubber, and all of that smoke is just getting into my car. Like I'm just coughing, I'm gagging. I'm just like, this is like a horror movie. So what do I do?
I don't like that.
I'm just like, this is horrifying. I said, and he wants me to hook up with him, and he's doing all of this like erratic, crazy stuff. I said, this guy is nuts. This guy is insane. I said, I can't hook up with this guy. I might be tied to him forever. I said, so what because all of the red flags are just going off at this point. I'm just like, I gotta get out of here as soon as possible. So what I do is I just slowly turn, and I just turn left, and I go back home. And I do not stop. And he drives forward, and he calls me up, and he's like, "What's wrong? Why didn't you keep going?" And I said, and I just hung up the phone, and I just drove straight home. And the next day I texted him, and I said, "Here's everything you did wrong, because you scared the crap out of me, and you were doing all these sorts of things, and you said the N-word when we were hanging out, and you did all this sorts of stuff." And I said, "I cannot hang out with you. You're crazy." I said, "Do not contact me again. You're messed up, dude."
So he was clearly just unsafe in general, but also a racist and probably misogynistic too. Ooh.
So that's the worst date I've ever been.
I'm glad. I do remember you telling me about that. I'm so glad that you. I'm glad that you dodged that, because that would. So, I don't think I've ever told this story on YouTube, which surprises me.
Ooh.
So, 2016 was an interesting year as well. I was on like Plenty of Fish. Plenty of Fish is not good at all. I don't even know if Plenty of Fish still exists.
Oh,
Probably does. Like
See?
it was like I feel like OkCupid was a little bit of an upgrade from Plenty of Fish, but Plenty of Fish was trashy. So I ended up matching with somebody on Plenty of Fish. I can't even remember what his name was, but he was like this. He kind of had like long, curly, dark hair, glasses, was very much a thespian. At least that's the vibe that I got.
He was a thespian.
A thespian. So he lived in like, where was it, like down by Ann Arbor or something? And I was living in West Branch. So I don't know if you know Michigan very well, but like that's like 2.5 hours away from me.
Ann Arbor boys hit different. I'm just saying.
Like he ended up driving all the way up to meet me one day, and we had a date at Tim Hortons.
Ooh.
And he, like, this dude was like transfixed with me, like just like fixated on me. Like it went from like 0 to 1,000 very quickly. And I was like, for me, I was just like, yikes, what's going on here? Like just touchy, feely, oh my God, like right in the middle of Podunkville, West Branch. And I'm just like, let's not die, please. So we complete our date. It went well. He goes back to Ann Arbor or whatever. And I could he kind of trauma dumped on me the entire date. And
oh my God.
Basically,
that's always a good sign, right?
Well, and I was trying to be nice, and I was trying to listen, because he was on a mental health journey. A lot was going on. I was on a mental health journey. So we tried bonding over that, but like I feel like his was at a drastically different point than mine. And I ended up falling asleep early that night, and he ended up like blowing up my phone. He days later, like we had talked, like we kept talking and stuff like that. But there was a day where like he was having like a crisis, and I'm like getting ready for work one morning. It's like 7 a.m. He calls me. I'm in West Branch right now. I'm in West Branch right now, and I need to see you. And I'm like, I'm getting ready for work. And then of course it spiraled into like, I don't know, they were having like a meltdown or something. So saying like some very concerning like suicidal ideation stuff.
Oh no, that's always the worst.
I know.
You feel bad for him, and it's like you want to help them out, but it's like, why are you putting that impetus on me because they want you to save them, and that's the thing. And it's sort of like it's that It's that date me or I'm gonna hurt myself. And
So
it's
when I got that comment from him, that's the point where I was like, I am so checked out of this. I ended up meeting up with him at Tim Hortons again just to make sure he was okay. Like I was like, are you safe? Like, do you need any resources? Blah 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 blah. So I at that point started kind of pulling away. We didn't really talk anymore, and he got mad at me for that. So he started sending me like just blowing up my phone, texts constantly. He literally was like, I'm so mad at you. I'm going to find you wherever you are. I'm going to find you at
that's
your,
definitely
he was like, I'm going to find you at like home, at your job, blah, 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 blah. So I literally had just gotten like a new teaching job. And I literally like first day had to go to Campus Police and be like, hey, I have someone who is threatening to stalk me.
I'm laughing about this because otherwise I would cry.
It was like, Ari, it was a mess. It was absolutely a mess. And after that, I like screenshotted the whole conversation. And then I like blocked this person. I was like, nope, never again.
I laugh about this because this is something similar has happened to me like this on several occasions. Where you'll be talking to somebody and all of a sudden they'll be like, I'm gonna kill myself. And it's like, you just be like, and you know that they're doing it because they want some kind of like recognition or attention. And it's so what I learned to do is I would just call the police and be like, this person, because the person that I did this on, he knew that I couldn't get to him and that I wouldn't be able to stop him if he was going to do it. So at that point, he wanted to make me feel as though I don't know what he wanted me to feel. He wanted attention or affection or some kind of like recognition from me, that he wanted to make me feel helpless or wanted to give me but I've had men do this where they put this impetus on you that you are supposed to like fawn over them. Oh no, don't kill yourself. I'm here for you if you need me. And no, I don't play that. If you're going to tell me that you're going to hurt yourself, I'm going to call the police because you are a danger to yourself and others. And so you need to be in the hospital if you're going to kill yourself. And so what I did was I called the police, and the police showed up to his place, and he was embarrassed because he decided that he was going to tell people that he was going to hurt himself, and they had to do a wellness check on him. So if he decides that he's going to do something like that, you know, I don't play like that. If you're going to hurt yourself, I'm going to go and take that seriously. I don't do this fawning. Oh, are there any resources? Is there anything I can do for you? Oh, poor baby.
If somebody is
none of that.
If somebody is willfully weaponizing that against someone else, like that to me is one of the worst things. I mean, it's very manipulative and toxic, but what does that say to people who actually do struggle with such things, right?
Well, it's they might be struggling, but the thing about it is if you're using that to get attention and affection, that's you can get attention and affection without using your mental health as a weapon. If you just say, I'm struggling right now and I just want some attention, I just need some affection right now, I'm just feeling really lonely, just say what you need. Don't use your mental health as that barrier to entry.
Right. Absolutely.
Because if you're wanting to cause me distress and concern for you, and just saying I'm going to kill myself, then I'm going to because what does that cause? What does that cause except emotional distress on my part? Then and is it because you want me to mother you in some way? You know what I mean? It's oh, poor baby. You know, like
it's just a very like strange thing to weaponize, like when you know what the intended reason
but
is.
I had a period where it was always in my 20s, but several men would do that to me where they would tell me I'm going to kill myself. And it was always a period where they would just, it would be like we would be talking, and off the bat they would just like come off and say that to me, and I was just like, oh, it would be like, at first I didn't know how to react to it, because I was just like, do they want me to be with them and like talk them down from it? And so I would try and do that originally, but then I realized that they were weaponizing it against me, and so then I started just calling the police.
Right. Yeah. I'm glad that you got to a point where you were able to call the police on people like that. I feel I'm sorry that you had to go through that for the length of time that you did, because that's not an acceptable thing to go through.
But that's why I laugh about it, because it's just, it happens so many times to me that it's just like, you know, it's just not, I laugh about it because otherwise I would just cry about it, because it just happens so many times.
Right. I want to catch up on the comments really quickly, because we've been ignoring the comments. Sorry, guys. So Lacey's like, I could give you a whole dang novella about. Hi, Rogue Agent. It's good to see you. You are.
I like big butts, and I cannot lie as well.
Arby says that baiting needs to go. Yes, I could not agree more. Rogue Agent says that that's awful, and so does Arby. Thinks that's scary. And then, of course, I'm glad that you also agree with that too. It's just like, it is kind of messed up when you think about it. It is very messed up. So what do we got next? Ooh.
What was a date that had red flags before you even got there? Like a date that you ran from before you even showed up to, because it was so bad.
So like, I didn't show up to the date because I was too concerned about red flags, or I got to the date and I left immediately.
Either or. A date that was so bad, like you had so many red flags, so many warning bells in your head, that you were just like, nope. You just noped yourself out of existence.
Do
you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first. I need a moment to think about that.
So this is one of my more recent ones. So this is when I was on Tinder, and I was trying to meet people and just like have meaningful relationships with people. So this guy messaged me and he said, hey, let's hang out. We'll go to the park. And I said, sure, let's go to the park. Like, that sounds good. We'll hang out. We'll be in a public place. It'll be like an open area. And, you know, we'll just meet during the daytime, you know, like 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon. I said, hey, that sounds great. But then my mom said, you know, that park is kind of like hidden back. I said, I've never been to that park, so I don't know. She says, yeah, it's kind of like a lover's lane park. And I said, really? She says, yeah, there's no like walking paths or anything. It's just kind of like a place where you park, and like there's no like seating areas or anything. It's just kind of like an open area. Like it's sort of like a place where people go and just park, and it's not really a place where people go and like do stuff. And she's like, it's not a very good park. And I said, really? She says, yeah, it's like, it's kind of like a park of ill repute. It's kind of what. And I said, really?
Of ill repute.
So then I kind of was put off about this, because I was like, I'd never been to this park, because it was on the other side of town. It was, and I didn't mind, but it was on the other side of town, because you know, again, I'm like in the suburbs, downtown area, and this was kind of like on the northern end of town. So it was like kind of just in an area that I didn't know very well, that I don't go to very often. So so then he says, oh, by the way, can we meet later in the day? Like, it's summer, by the way, so it would still be daytime. But he's like, can we meet like at 8 o'clock at night? Because I have something going on earlier in the day, but can we meet at like 8 o'clock? And I'm like, what do you need to meet at 8 o'clock? And he's like, well, I have stuff that I have to do earlier in the day, but I can't meet until like 8 o'clock. And I'm like, so you want to meet at 8 o'clock at night at this park? And I said, really? And he's like, yeah, I just don't think that we should meet before like 8. And And so then I was like, okay. And then he messaged me again. He's like, oh, by the way, I can't meet until like 9:30. And then she just kept pushing it back later and later. And I was just like, so then I just like didn't message him anymore because I was like, this guy is like trying to sneaky me or something. He's like trying to like hook up at this park at like night. And I was just like, there's so many warning flags. This guy is just trying to hook up with me at this park and he like wants to have sex in public. And I was just like, there are so many things wrong with this. And I was just like, I do not, because I'm trying not to have sex with people. Like I was just like not having sex with people. And like he didn't tell me anything about himself at all. Like I didn't know anything about him. And so I was like, well, I really don't want to meet at this park. Can we meet at this park at this other time during the day? And he was like, why do you want to meet somewhere else? I thought we were meeting here. And I was like, well, I just don't feel comfortable meeting at that park. My mom told me that park is like not a very good park. And then he like ghosted me. Just like, no.
That's,
so I was like,
ooh. Again, you dodged something. I want to, ooh. Oh, I feel like I kind of have a couple of similar things to that I can think of off the top of my head. I want to answer Rogue Agent's question though. Now we're gonna quick answers because this doesn't follow our topic necessarily. But you say, should superhero comics focus on? I think you meant on suicide. I think stories that handle the topic delicately should be told. Because I think that drawing any awareness to mental health and all of that is important. I don't know, Ari, what do you think?
I think it's okay as long as it's done respectfully. Again, it's a very sensitive subject that affects a lot of people's lives. Because when a person and I've had friends who have committed suicide.
Same.
When somebody commits suicide, it affects not only the person or the immediate people in front of them, but it affects a lot of people's lives in a lot of different ways. And it causes the grief is immense because that person's life has been cut short in so many ways. So when talking about suicide, it can be very triggering for a lot of different people. So it's difficult to handle that subject delicately without sometimes it can make people upset. So you have to be very careful about how you talk about it and how you handle that subject. You can talk about that subject, but you have to be very delicate about it.
Yeah, good answer. Good answer. Did you ever go on a date that made you feel unsafe? Okay, I put this in here. I put this question in here because there is a specific event that I experienced that, like, it's kind of funny how far I went with this person, like tolerating their ridiculousness. So fast forward to like, what was it? 2017, 2018. I met this guy off Grindr. And he lived like maybe a couple of cities away. And so like we had a couple of dates and then he wanted me to come down to his city to go on a date. So I met him. I met up at some place that wasn't his place. It was like some apartment thing. And it was very strange. Like I saw pictures of him and the significant other that he had all over the walls.
Oh, so it was like his trap house.
I don't know. Like it was like fully furnished apartment.
It was like his cheater house.
Yeah, like it was very strange. So I was just like, okay, what's going on? So he wanted to, like, I thought we were going to go out to dinner. He wanted to go out to the bar, to like a local gay bar.
Oh.
So he's like, well, I'm going to go to the liquor store. Like, do you want to go with me to the liquor store? We'll get like drinks for after. And I'm like, sure. All right. So he's driving. I normally don't let other people drive because like it scares me. Like I want to be in control of the wheel so I can escape if I need to. Right. Well, it was one of the few instances where I didn't do that. And
oh, that's so dangerous.
Yeah. So we went to the
especially if you don't know the guy.
We went to the liquor store and he came out of the liquor. I stayed out in the car. He came out of the liquor store. he pulled out a flask
Oh.
and drank it and then poured the rest in his, like, what I thought was a bottle of water, and then proceeded to drive us. Like, I was paralyzed. I was just like, what do
Oh
I
my God,
say?
he's driving drunk.
Yeah, like, I was just like,
Drinking and driving.
I'm like freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, am I gonna die tonight? So we get to the gay bar, which wasn't super far away. And we get there and he like ditches me for like other dudes. So his friends that we were meeting up felt bad for me. And one of them, I think, was thinking that they were going to scoop me up and be like, oh, you know. So then he comes back and is mad at me for letting his friend flirt with me.
Oh my goodness.
So he gets so mad that he literally leaves the bar and just drives away and leaves me in this city that I've never been in.
And this is before like Uber and stuff. So
Yeah,
like,
I had no transportation. I was stranded.
yeah.
And all I could think about was like, I got to get back to my car. I got to go home. I got to get back to my car. I got to go home. He does eventually come back like an hour later, like just very drunk.
Oh my
And so
God.
like I drove him back home because I was like, And the rest of the night was a blank to me. It was really that one experience in 2018 was what made me stop dating for a while until I finally met Britt, and I was like,
we need to end on a good note.
We do. We cannot
leave it like this.
So I get in conclusion with that. Always listen to your intuition. No matter how much you like someone, exercise your safety because that's very, very important because you don't want to have a dating horror story like that, right?
Have a good memory. Talk about a good memory. Good date.
A good date?
Yeah.
Do you want me to talk about? Okay, so a date that I'll talk about my first date with Britt at a movie, like one of our first dates. We had never gone on a movie date until like a year after we were dating. And we go see Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Ooh.
A film that I had been waiting for like 5 years. We get like a quarter of the way through the film, and he's like falling asleep next to me.
Aww.
And I'm like, what are you doing? I got so irrationally mad.
Aww, so
I was
cute,
like,
though.
you need to be awake to see Mothra, but it ended up going well. He was not a Godzilla fan. He decided to go with me. He braved through it, and I was like, you know what? That's a keeper. That's a keeper. So, what about you?
It's one of my sneaky links. Can I talk about one of my dates with my sneaky links?
Sure.
So in my 20s, I don't know if it necessarily was a date as much as it was a hookup, but it was a really good hookup.
Oh.
So he was a beautiful man. He was a beautiful man.
Oh.
So I was in my 20s, and I don't even know how I met this guy. I think I met him at a Rocky Horror Show. I don't even remember how we met. I think it might have been OkCupid or something, but he was like, I'm in Grand Rapids. How would you like to meet up? And I said, this is kind of during my more promiscuous phase. You know, I was just like, whatever, you know, like I'm all about this. I'm all about this life, you know. But so I drive over to this guy's house, and he is tall, muscular, very interesting, very, very kind, very gentle person, very sweet person.
Oh.
I think he was probably like one of the sweetest hookups I've ever had. And he played Rocky in, because you know how they do those like productions, like they'll have actors that people on stage. he was Rocky. Like he played Rocky.
Oh.
And that's how I knew he was a buff guy. He was a good looking guy. Like he had some muscles on him. So I come over to his house and nobody's home at their house. Like they have a billiard table and like they have all of that stuff. And he's like, I just want to show you a good time and just kind of revere your body. And I said,
revere. Oh.
And I was like, of course. And he said, but I don't want to take a shower with you first. Is it okay if we take a shower? And I said, sure. So we get in the shower and we take a shower together. He's like, can I wash your hair? Your hair looks so nice. And I just want to take a shower with you first. And so he was like, I just love shampooing hair. He says, let me just, and I was like,
you were like, what?
He was like, no, it was really cute. He was like, I just love shampooing hair. He says, most people don't know how to shampoo hair properly. And I said, do you not think I know how to shampoo hair properly? He says, I think that most women don't know how to shampoo hair properly. So he was telling me about how women shampoo hair. And we had a whole conversation about how people shampoo hair. And I was like, I never knew that. And he was like, it was like such a wholesome conversation about how people shampoo hair. And he said, I think that you have the most beautiful hair though. He said, I think you take care of your hair, but I think
that's so sweet. What a sweet person.
And he was like, I think I want to have sex with you now. And I said, I think I want to have sex with you now. And so then we had sex.
Isn't consent beautiful? Like when two people are like very transparent and just.
But it wasn't just a single hookup. We hooked up at least several times after that. But he was so good as a partner, and I didn't talk it. I've never talked about him before, but he was very good, and like I knew that we weren't ever going to be like a thing, but like I really liked him as a guy.
Right. That's honestly, that's like the perfect story to end our episode on.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, everyone, even if a date is a horror story at the end of the day, like make jest of it, laugh about it, reflect on it, right? If it's a rough one, be great, like just revere and revel over the fact that like you got through that, and now hopefully you might be in a better place, right? Well, I think we should do a part 2 to this episode at some point in the future.
Yes.
All right, everyone. We love you. Have a good rest of your night. And we won't see you until after Valentine's Day. So regardless, if you are celebrating with someone or independently, celebrate love in general, right?
Go see Amelie in theaters.
Love you all. Bye.